I'm Dr. Cindy, your host of the Positively Altered podcast. I am a chiropractic internist and nutritionist, and we love to discuss all things health related, sometimes with interesting spins, and certainly no filter. On today's podcast, you are going to meet a good friend of mine who is involved in the supplement space, but also got herself involved in the genetic space. And she's doing something wildly unique that I don't believe anybody else is doing currently today, but it's a way to help you manage your genetics very differently than a massive big report that everybody is getting and not knowing what to do with, and really narrowing it down to something that is super helpful. We're also going to talk about some of her favorite ingredients in the supplement space and a few other surprises. So make sure you stay tuned through the commercial break. The people that support the Positively Altered podcast are really important to me. So take a listen and just relax. We're going to have some fun today. We will be right back.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? I'm glad you stuck around. I cannot wait to introduce you to today's guest. You know, it's interesting. She's been in the insurance industry. She's been in the dog food industry. Now she's in the supplement and wellness and genetics industry. I don't know how you make that transition, but we are going to find out today. Heather Lord, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's always a pleasure. So what everybody doesn't know is this is take 3 for us, right? We've tried to record this podcast numerous times, and I think this one's going to be the perfect one.
I agree.
We'll see how it goes. So, all right, Heather, let's cover the weirdness of how do you go like insurance, dog food to, the supplement space.
Yeah, so I was actually recruited out of college by Nationwide Insurance and wound up in that industry. I inspected homes for their insurability whenever agents would actually underwrite them. So it was up to us to be in the field to determine whether or not we as a company were going to insure the properties. And then I was actually recruited out of that by a woman named Lindy Kogan, who worked at the time for Royal Canin. And Royal Canin is actually now owned by M&M Mars. And they're most widely known, I think, probably for everybody who has dogs out there for their breed-specific diets. But I was actually in the veterinary channel. So my sole goal was to educate veterinarians on disease states and how food can actually help them and be their medicine. So it seems like a really difficult transition, but I've actually been working with doctors the better part of my career. After that, I actually was again recruited out by a company called Athena Health. And Athena is the third largest or the largest third-party biller in the United States. So I was actually there for about 4.5 years. I like to say that corporate America kicked me out, which I was actually really happy with. Enjoyed a couple months off before my parents actually scooped me up. So although it seems like I've been working for my parents now at their companies for 8 years, but I've actually really this industry has been a part of my life forever. So my parents started this company when I was a year old.
Oh my gosh. And I don't want to tell you how long I've known your parents for, because that makes me older than you. And it's true. And I've known them for a very long time. And I'm really happy that they scooped you up, because I think you've been an enormous asset, I know, to myself, to the industry, and really at the end of the day to patients who are getting a really good quality product. So I know we're going to touch on all of that, but you're doing something actually very interesting to me, I think, in the space where the study of genetics has been around now for quite a while, and yet there's so much we don't know. I really think it's in its infancy in the space, but you're doing something really unique for those of us to try to help patients better. Can we just dive? I want to get into that, right?
Sure.
Because I think it's really cool. Share your interest in genetics and what you're doing. And then I'm going to ask you 100 questions about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm really
So
fascinated.
my dad actually started pairing and doing research on ingredients and how they have a positive or a negative impact in gene expression. So he started doing that in 2012. When I came over into the industry, it was something he was really passionate about. And the reason why I am passionate about it, not just because I think it obviously makes sense, is because when our daughter Maggie was 3 years old, she used to just have these temper tantrums. I mean, just total inconsolable meltdowns. And they weren't just little fits. They started becoming something more than that. And it really started scaring me. So we had her genetics run. And back then, it was through 23andMe, because that's when, she's 16 now. She's almost 17. So that's just about what everybody did back then. And what we found was she actually had a serotonin dopamine problem, and I'll explain that in a second. But she also had excess ammonia, which is toxic in the brain, and can really make you act crazy. But what was happening was she had toxic amounts of ammonia, but then whenever she would get worked up about something, typically what happens is your body will release some serotonin to calm you down, right? It coats the top of your brain and it starts to bring you back down to a normal behavior. So hers would not actually fire. It would wait and it would misfire. And when it would actually finally release the hormones in the brain, it would overfire. And so then what would happen is she would actually pass out and she would fall asleep for like 45 minutes. And we used to call it her 45-minute attitude adjustment nap, before we actually knew chemically what was going on. So we started really working on her diet. She's got red hair, like me, but she has a gene where she's actually really allergic to red dye, and it would make her act nutty. So we cut out some things in her diet, started giving her some supplementation that made sense for her genetics. And within 3 to 4 months, she was an entirely different child. To the point where when she was even around 5 years old, she was popping the glutamate scavenger calming formula on her own, because she would tell us that she didn't like the way she felt when she didn't take it. So, even young children understand, when they start to feel better, they want to stay better. So that's really the story around it, and how it, how I've become passionate about it and why I think it's so important.
So let's go on a little tangent here, because you said something really interesting that hits home for me. And that was this idea of ammonia, right? And as you know, my son has tested elevated for ammonia as well. Can you talk a little bit about why should we what made you look for that, right? Of all the things to test for, why look at ammonia?
Yeah, so it's funny. People don't realize there's a lot of signs and symptoms around toxic levels of ammonia. Sometimes actually people have such toxic amounts you can smell it on them. Other times it has a lot to do with neurological and mood. So it will really affect the way that people are thinking. So you'll have people that just have brain fog. They just feel like they can't get it together. I actually was shocked. I mean, this is before I was even working in this industry. I was actually shocked to see that she had that gene and that she did have toxic levels of ammonia, but it's really a light bulb, and it's sort of a silent, when you don't smell it on somebody, it's really sort of a silent disruptor especially in adults' everyday life, right? And even a child in a classroom's ability to learn. So it's cognitively, it really can wreak havoc in your body. But the good thing is, it's something that's very easy to treat, which is even better.
So it's a simple blood test, right? Where we can get a level. Where do you think people are getting exposed to the ammonia? Where do you think it came from in your daughter's case?
Actually, I don't know where, but I do know that, the gene she has, and if I pulled out a test, I'd be able to tell you which one it is her body's inability to actually get rid of the ammonia, so to metabolize it. So we're all obviously exposed to it, but your body, it's a byproduct of just digestion and everything, right? And so, but your body's inability to actually get rid of it is the problem. But thankfully, again, there's ingredients that you can take that will actually help that. And in her case, she was actually on that product for so long that when we started backing her off, it really, it put that switch on. That's a switch you kind of want to be on. And her body's actually able to get rid of the ammonia on its own now. So some things she's still on and she'll probably be taking for the rest of her life just based off of her genetics. But others, we've used homeopathy. And so we've really sort of taught her body how to react to things in a more appropriate way. And so those if she needs to be on and maybe once a year to just remind her body how to react, that's about it. So,
now, and you guys, your company, your organization actually created a product specifically for the use of this. Talk a little bit about the ingredients that are in there, because I think it's phenomenal. Yeah.
So ammonia scavenger is a great product. And the ingredients that are in there actually work synergistically to help the body, increase the body's ability to metabolize the ammonia. And when it does that, it actually will just come out in the urine, which is what's supposed to happen. And so, it works pretty quickly, actually. I mean, when you do a blood test to see if there's toxic levels of ammonia, even with your son, it works very quickly, within a couple days.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. So the genetics, so we know genetics are playing a role, and it's scary because you look at those big tests, right, that we all started with. And I think what's happening is people go home and go, great, I'm just going to sit around and wait for, the shoe to drop and the disease to hit that I'm now prone for. And I think we've come a long way to not sit around and be scared, but to actually utilize the information. So talk about the 100 SNP test that you put together and why you picked the SNPs that you picked, and how we can use it better than a big, massive test that just sits in a drawer and scares us.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's obviously hundreds of thousands of genetics and SNPs that, encompass who we are, right? But I don't want to say they don't all matter, but do they all have actually reaction points? No. And so I think it's really important for docs in our ability at PHP to be able to help, doctors like yourself, is to actually focus on the ones that you can make a positive effect on through diet, lifestyle, exercise, and even supplementation. And, to understand, what is going on in your patient's bodies. I wanted it to be a tool that, genetics is great because it's the only test that you ever have to run one time. And when it's done right, you only need to run it one time, right? When it's actually being interpreted right. So what I really love about the test is that it's a test that a doctor can use on a new patient to get a baseline of, well, who are they, right? Who am I treating? But it's also a really great test for those patients where you're like, 90%, you have them at 90%, but you kind of can't get them to 100. And it really will uncover what maybe you've been missing. And so that's what I really love about it. And when we put these genes together, it was really important to give you ones that would really be able to be reactionary when you need to be, right? So you don't want to just treat the SNP. You actually want to look at it with a sign or a symptom, or maybe even blood work or urine. But what we wanted to do was, like a lot of other genetic tests out there, they give you the information, but they actually don't tell you what should I do to see or validate expression. So instead of, taking doctors away from the test to go into other, books or to educate themselves on what do I need to run, it's all in the test. We tell you the SNP. We tell you what signs and symptoms might be associated with expression of it. We also tell you what lab to run if you want to see if there is actually expression going on. And then we tell you what products that we have to support that gene should you choose to use them.
I love this. I'm seeing, unfortunately, I think, and it's good and bad, right? I'm seeing a lot of information on social media about genetic testing, which is good because it's bringing awareness.
Right.
I think what's bad about it is, it isn't a one size fits all, right? And it isn't just as simple as like, run 6 genes. Are you methylating, not methylating? And then congratulations, buy this one supplement and it fixes all but cures you. And I find it fascinating what's happening in the social media world with that, right? The misinformation. And really, to me as a practitioner, I actually don't think genetics is simple at all. It's not simple at all. But I think the way you present it makes it simpler, right, to understand. Right. And one of the things I found is when we run the test, to your point, if we run it first, it gives me a really great way to guide where to go, right? Because I'm looking at potential issues. But sometimes even more importantly, it confirms where I'm telling the patient to go, because we run, let's say, micronutrient testing or hormone panels and we see dysfunction there. Then even sometimes we backtrack to the genetics and it's like, oh, this could be the reason you're having trouble in the first place because of the type of expression you're having. Makes sense, right? So not only now do we treat what we're finding on the test, but we're treating what we found in the genetic space so that even if we fix the problem, they don't genetically express again later.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And it's been really interesting. How are you adapting to the, influx of information then on genes? Like, are you stuck on the 100 SNPs? Are you constantly looking at revamping that and bringing others in?
Yeah, so that's a great question. All of the genes that we are looking at are backed by science. So they have been studied, at hundreds and hundreds of papers. And we have all of that information, and we always will hand it over to any doctor that wants it, which really no other company does. But as we learn more about our genetics and expression, and we understand the different RS numbers, because every gene has multiple RS numbers, what they do and which ones to look at, we absolutely will swap a gene out if we feel like it makes sense. We're also looking at actually adding on to the test. So right now we're looking at adding another 20 genes or RS numbers. So we're constantly looking at it. But the nice thing is that you can really validate your tests based off of other reports that have been run and what percentage of the population has this gene and how much, how many times in the population is it being expressed. And, not only do you want to look at the ones that, hey, 78% of the population has, sometimes you really want to look at the ones that maybe only 13% of the population have, because as a doctor, that could be the unicorn you're trying to treat, right? And that could be a game changer for somebody that really is sick.
So speaking of that, I think about what kills us, as a physician, right? I mean, this is, we think most serious first, of course, when we're working up a patient, and then we go down to not so serious. And, one of the things that I really truly believe is very misunderstood is cardiovascular disease. I think we're going about it the wrong way. We're putting a lot of stock in cholesterol panels, which, don't get me wrong, are important, but we're only looking there a lot of times, and we're not looking beyond that. I think there are some things, and I'd love for you to expand. I think there's some components of the test that your company provides in that cardiovascular space that we're not discussing? What are your favorite areas there that people need to learn about?
Well, I think hypertension and inflammation is huge. I mean, inflammation that's really what's killing us, right? It's like every day we wake up, we're actually a little bit closer to dying. And inflammation, and I love that it's really getting the attention that it deserves because it's huge. We've got the ACE gene in there. As far as cardiovascular and hypertension, a lot of that gene expression is not only is it obviously genetic, but a lot of that expression comes from inflammation. So I think that in the cardiovascular space, looking at inflammation and oxidative stress is huge.
Right. And I don't think we're focused there at all.
No, we're getting there, but it's certainly, if you look at neurological and mood again, oxidative stress, inflammation, it's just all linked. So that's why you just can't look at, a panel with that 5 to 10 genes and really only focus on methylation. That's a really tough thing to do because then you're missing, the COM genes, which are directly linked to methylation or the body's ability or inability to methylate or process methylated B vitamins. So,
yeah. What is your take? It's interesting. There's a lot of, I think, misinformation too on the hormone space, right? We talk about estrogen a lot, especially in the female population. And, people, estrogen's evil. We can't have elevated estrogen. It's causing cancer. There's always a link to estrogen to cancer. And I've always said, estrogen really isn't evil. It might be the form of estrogen we have to look at or how we're clearing estrogen. So what's your take on some of these genes and how the liver, the detoxification and the methylation affects us on a hormone level?
Yeah. So, estrogen is one of my favorite hormones to talk about because what we aren't looking at, and what, some docs aren't looking at is that the body's inability to actually rid itself of excess estrogen. And excess estrogen is everywhere. And the problem is our body doesn't know the difference between good and bad, right? So you take a receipt, for example, there's estrogens in it. It's funny, I talk about it so much, my teenagers don't even want to touch receipts when they're handed to them because they know there's estrogens in it. There's bad estrogens in the water. It's everything. There's so many different foods that are in plastics, and it's leaching estrogen. Then we drink it. So, it's really, there's some really great ingredients out there that have been clinically studied, and have been proven to actually rid the body of bad estrogens, of excess estrogens. So not only is the body able to get rid of some of the good estrogens, but it's also ridding itself of the bad in the process. But it's not just a problem for women. It's a huge problem for men. And also will interfere, as you know, with testosterone production. So estrogen can be pretty nasty.
It can. We just got to get the doctors into the offices, Heather. They don't seem to present quite as often as the women.
Yeah, true.
It's hard. So what are your top 3 favorite ingredients for clearing estrogens in the body?
So DIM is the one I think everybody is the most familiar with, right? But I'm really big on sulforaphane, which is activated broccoli sprouts. Honestly, that is my favorite. We work with a company that is family owned actually and been growing actually as a patent on the process and the way that they grow it called broccorafenine. That's actually the trademark and patented version of it. And they actually have 2 different types of activated broccoli sprouts. So I would actually say that their products are probably my favorite to clear excess estrogens. You can run a test on a person and have estrogens really, really drop in 30 days. Using that paired with DIM, it works very, very well.
All right. Awesome. Now give me your top 3 favorite ingredients nobody's heard of.
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. No one's heard of.
Or let's say aren't as common. How about if we go there?
Okay. I really love Certmax, black tie ginseng. It's actually another trademarked ingredient. It's fantastic for nitric oxide production, but it's also really good for sexual health. So as we know, right, sexual health is really good in that cardiovascular space too. So that's one of my favorites. We actually use a flow agent called Sunfiber, and we started doing that as our flow agent a long time ago because it's FODMAP approved. I don't know that people maybe haven't really heard of it, but I just think that it's a fantastic ingredient because of the studies on glucose regulation, appetite suppression, and it's all a fiber that is non-coagulating. So unlike Metamucil, whenever you stick it in water, it doesn't turn gelatinous, which is great. So I'm a really big proponent of that. And then I just have to say something as simple as crushed sunflower seeds, which have the phosphatidylcholine, ethanolamine, and inositol. That is just food. Is just great fats for your brain, good fat for your body, but great for your brain. And so that's a huge one. I really, really like that.
I love that you mentioned that. We're seeing a lot of choline deficiency in our micronutrient tests that we're running. Mm-hmm. And it's that, we start with, I can't remember why we walked into the room and I don't remember her name. And, it leads us down a cascade that's much more detrimental than that. And it's really interesting how deficient we're becoming, I think, as a population.
Oh, yeah.
In that particular nutrient affecting our mental capacity.
And I think people are in so many different weird diets and they're cutting out things. But the problem is that they're not realizing that they're cutting out fats to the brain. The other thing is you have an aging population that doctors are actually putting on beta blockers. Put them on a beta blocker, you're blocking fat to the brain, and then you have, even my dad, a memory loss. And so I've got him on the product because he's one of those people that are suffering from that. So, it's a fantastic product. It's just a great nutrient. It's sunflower seeds. So, it's easy.
And so simple, right?
It's so simple.
It's so simple. What do you think is one of the most common myths out there about products that people need to be aware of?
This is a really tough industry. I'd love to say that we're all created equally and we're just not. Because we manufacture our own supplements, I really see that. And because we manufacture supplements for some of our competitors, I really do see that not all companies are created equal. I do think it's really important that patients educate themselves, but I really think it's important that they talk to their doctors about what they're taking. It's I would say one of the most difficult things to do is really to explain to somebody why you're different and what your points of differentiation are between other companies. But it's difficult to really stand out in this industry. We pride ourselves in using the best, and highest quality ingredients out there. And that doesn't always come with an inexpensive price tag. So sometimes I do, in this industry, I will say sometimes you really are just getting what you paid for. And buying something, I would say, it's not always, well, it's better to take something than nothing. Sometimes I would say it's better to take nothing than something that you're taking. But really, I think having a conversation with your doctor is really important to understand if you're really taking a great product or not.
Yeah, I love it. It is very hard. One of the things I love to educate on is not even just the ingredients that are in the product, but if you look down the label, the other ingredients.
Yep.
Right. So are there a couple other ingredients that you would throw out there for, everybody go grab your bottles right now while you're listening to the podcast. Are there certain other ingredients that if are on the bottle, you would say, throw it out, start over?
Oh, I would say throw it out. As far as other ingredients, I mean, if it's got any dyes in there, any artificial colors, artificial flavoring, toss it. There's just really no room for any of that in this space. It shouldn't be there. Those are big ones. I think some also get a really bad rap. Vegetarian magnesium stearate, although we do not use it anymore, is really a fine excipient. Same with organic brown rice. There's reasons why I would say in certain products I wouldn't use it. Again, we don't use that in our own line anymore. But I would just say, as far as other ingredients, anything artificial, anything with dyes, really loving that those are starting to get banned. They're just really they're. I mean, as you know, they're endocrine disruptors. I mean, they don't need to be there. Right.
Which is interesting when some of the products we take are meant to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's a balance in there. Okay. So here's the $100 million question. Is that such a thing? $100 million question that I always have when I see other ingredients, even as a clinician, and it says natural flavors, but it doesn't tell me what the natural flavors are. Should I be aware of that?
It should be listed. Other natural flavors such as.
I guess that's my question, is where did the natural flavors come from?
Yeah. Yeah, right. It should be listed on there. I totally agree. We really list everything and try to be as transparent as possible. On our label, sometimes you will see a proprietary blend. As our clients, we will absolutely tell you what that blend of ingredients are. It's just truly the only way to protect your label from being copied by somebody else. So, we do that so they actually have to send our product out and get it tested if they really want to know. But it's not that we're not willing to share it with our clients. We absolutely will, but we do proprietary blends, but we still tell you exactly what's on the label. It should be on there.
No, and I think that's great because we also sometimes will have a patient that's sensitive to something, if they can't eat raspberries and it's raspberries that's flavoring it, we obviously need to know.
Yeah, true.
All right. What's missing in the industry that you've got to come up with, Heather?
Ooh, honestly, what's missing in the industry, the education I feel like is getting better and better, which is really great. But what's missing? There's something I have up my sleeve that I think is missing.
See, I guess that's what I was asking, Heather, is what's coming out that you don't want to announce, right? I was trying to be sneaky about that a little.
Yeah, we are working on something that I think will make it even easier for doctors to utilize the genetic tests, all the information, the other information that they've been gathering for years on patients. But yeah, and it's a project, but definitely worth working on. So, we're getting there. I definitely think this industry is missing a couple things, but it would really change the way that I think doctors are actually treating patients as well.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of a couple conditions out there too that I think we're absolutely getting wrong. What do you think? What would be like maybe your top 1, 2, or 3 conditions as well that we're just not getting right, in order to help patients the correct way?
My top one is we're just not treating anxiety and depression as a country probably at all correctly. I have had through COVID several girlfriends whose children, their daughters, have suffered eating disorders and actually been institutionalized for these as children and been institutionalized with other adults that have real serious issues that they actually were exposed to. We are not treating our children properly that are suffering from some of these diseases. And really it's all neurological, right? So it's all chemical and we're throwing, bad at things and making it worse as a country. And it's really scary.
It's interesting. And I guess I'm going to bring you back to a genetics, question with that. We're so quick to hand out antidepressants, and if we look back to the history, they were originally created and approved by the FDA for about 6 weeks worth of use, truly only for people who were either suicidal or were going to hurt somebody else, right? Not for other conditions. And now we hand them out like candy and we're on them for 30, 40 years. Even if we go down that route, and I'm not a fan of that, right? I'm a big fan of the nutrition side of mental health. But even if we go down that route, aren't we getting it wrong with the drugs by not looking at the pharmacogenetics to even see if the particular drug would even make sense? I look at the side effects of antidepressants, and one of them is suicide. Why is nobody questioning that?
Well, not only that, if they go back in and they say they're not feeling better, they don't pull them off of one. They just put them on another one. But there's nothing that shows how well they're interacting with one another. So it's scary. I agree. It's very scary.
Yeah. Is that something you would possibly look at doing ever, is looking at some of the pharmacogenetics as part of your test in order to help doctors realize that what they're doing from a prescription drug perspective is incorrect?
That panel actually exists, and I don't feel that I need to add it because Maxgenlabs actually offers that panel. And so I love to give them a plug because it's a great panel. And I do think it should be run, especially in some of these circumstances. Absolutely.
I love it. But in the meantime, your 100 SNP test is something that helps us on the nutrient supplement side, right? Because it gives us bringing back to what you originally said, it really gives us a protocol, which is great because even I know as a practicing clinician, sometimes we get all of this information back and we still don't always know, okay, then what do we do with it? Right.
Right.
Yeah. And it's really fabulous. Heather, I love what you're doing in this space. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, it's great. You know what? Everybody stay tuned. We're going to take a quick commercial break to listen to our sponsors that are really important to us. Professional Health Products happens to be one of those. So take a quick listen to their commercial as well. We're going to be right back. We're going to have a little bit of fun, and then we're going to find out from Heather Lord how you can get a hold of this genetic test. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. And we're back. Thanks for hanging tight with us. We are here with Heather Lord from Professional Health Products, who is my go-to certainly for nutrient help and most importantly, the combination with genetic help, which is proving to be wildly successful and really important in today's medical space. So if you didn't plug in until this moment, make sure you hit rewind and check out what we were talking about because it's super important. All right, Heather, this is the fun part of the program. You ready? Some rapid fire questions. Just going to see what your answers are.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep. Fire away.
Okay. If you could change the color of the water in the ocean, what color would you make it?
Greener.
I like that. I don't think anybody's ever taken an original color and made it more. So that's a great answer. What about if we had to change the color of snow? Would you make it whiter?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe sparklier, like more glitter.
Oh, I like that. I think everything should have sparkles, Heather.
I love that. I'm a skier. So when it's snowing and it's glittery looking, gosh, I love that.
I love that. That might be my favorite answer because, I have to sparkle wherever I go too. So it's
Yes,
really
you do.
important. Absolutely. All right. If you could make one food known as a breakfast food that isn't, what would you pick?
Lobster. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I love lobster.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Fair enough. I think I've actually broken bread with you and had lobster, haven't we?
Oh, yes, we have. And crab, all the things.
And crab, where's your favorite? What's your favorite restaurant? Or is it fresh out of the ocean when we go fishing?
Oh, my gosh. My favorite restaurant. I mean, I do love catching and eating it. I think that's just the most fun. But my favorite restaurant, oh, that's a tough one. It depends on what I'm hungry for.
Okay, that's fair. I'll let you get back to me on that one, I think.
I really can't decide.
If you could only utilize one mode of transportation for everywhere you go on Earth, what would you pick?
I mean, if the times permitted, I would just choose a horse. But unfortunately, I think we're well beyond that. One mode of transportation. Oy. I don't know. I really am. I'm a flyer. So I would just say an airplane.
An airplane.
I really don't love sitting on long car rides in cars. It's just not my thing. I love the destination and I do love sightseeing, but just sitting in a car for hours on end to me is just boring.
Okay. And then who's your one travel partner if you only had one for the rest of your life?
Oh my gosh, my husband.
Oh, I love that.
I couldn't go. I don't even want to see the world if it isn't with him.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Okay. If you could take your favorite book on earth and actually be the author of it, what book would it have been?
Well, that's The Giving Tree.
See, I knew that was going to be the answer.
It's the best book ever.
There's so many lessons in that book. I still have my copy, I think, from when I was a little girl.
Yep. I love it. I have it too. It's with my kids' stuff.
Isn't that amazing? Shel Silverstein was actually the best friend of like my second, third, or fourth cousin. I'm not sure what he was exactly. But I'm a little bit, I've never actually met him when he was alive, but I'm removed by a couple people, and it was just sort of a cool thing. I think I
That is a
actually
cool
have
thing.
most of the books and the weird poems and all of the good stories.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it too. All right, Heather, what was your favorite, last but not least, what was your favorite thing about doing the podcast for the third time today, even though nobody heard version 1 and version 2?
That I get to do it when I'm not sick. No, but I just always I love chatting with you. So, but also seeing your face is even better. So than on the phone.
Oh my gosh, it's been great. Heather, how can everybody find you, follow you, learn more about your products and the nutritional gene test? Where do we go to get that?
So we have socials. So we're on Instagram and we are on Facebook, but you can always visit our website at phpltd.com. And if your practitioner is not carrying our products, you can actually fill out a support form and we can reach out and get them to start carrying them.
All right. Everybody needs to do that. I'll tell you, I've been using the products for a long time. They're brilliant. They're easy, no side effects. They just make sense. So get out there, get a hold of them. They really do make a difference in your health. Heather, it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. As always, we do some fun things outside of the podcast, and we're going to continue to do that together. When the new product or whatever it is you're working on comes out, can I have you back?
Absolutely.
Because, if you're onto something in the industry, we got to be at the forefront of that.
Yep. I'd love it. Thank you.
I would absolutely love that too. For everybody out there, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, please join us at drscindyspeaks.com. You can check out the website, subscribe to the newsletter, or send us an email at hello@drscindyspeaks.com. I will tell you that one of my favorite things about today's podcast was, I think we got it right this time.
Yeah.
I think we got it right. We got really good information, a little giggle in there, a good way for people to get a hold of you. And as always, I just enjoy being around you, Heather. Your energy is fantastic. Your knowledge is great. You've been a huge asset to me. And thank you. Thank you. Everybody, please make sure you check out the show notes. You're going to want to get a hold of the product and the genetic test. If you have any difficulty, just reach out to us at drscindyspeaks.com and we will certainly help you get it. It's been absolutely fabulous. I know today, and I hope all of you have been, I was positively altered.